Hello, everyone, and welcome again to the Unfound Podcast channel on YouTube. I am Unfound's host, Ed Densel. I hope you're all doing fantastic. Before I get started, I'd like to remind you to subscribe to this channel. Please give this video a thumbs up. And once subscribing, please hit that little bell button so that when we upload videos such as this one, you will be alerted immediately. And then also when I do the live shows on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. As the title of this video suggests, I'm doing a map analysis for the disappearance of Leanne Hausberg. This is an episode that came out on October 29th, 2021. And what you are seeing here are 5 important locations for her disappearance that I think you need to understand. I'm going to give you details on each and then some insight into all of it. What you're looking at here is, of course, Brooklyn, the Brooklyn part of New York City. Now down here on the lower part of the screen, the left lower part, is where Leanne started her day. And then way over here, way up here at the top of the screen, could barely fit it in there, is where this car that allegedly transported Leanne. Of course, if you've heard the interview, you know, maybe it wasn't actually Leanne. It was actually Barry's fiancée, Letitia, who was in that car. That is perplexing. I'm going to leave that up to you. But that is why we have this long blue line that goes the whole way up there. So this address right here on 67th Street, this is where Leanne, Alan, and the rest of the family were living at the time. This is the car service. There is where Leanne was going to high school. As you heard Alan say, it was like right down the street, and I think you can see that. And then this blue line is the most efficient way to go from the high school, New Utrecht High School, over up here to the intersection of Alabama Avenue and Liberty Avenue, which we'll get to that once again. Now, if we were to take New Utrecht High School out of this, just as an example, just to see how this blue, let's see if this changes. And you'll see that it does. For example, if it was Leanne who went to the Strictly Car Service and then up here to this address, you see that it's a much shorter route. I think that we have to keep that in mind. But even at this time of night, I'm doing this video on the night of October 28th. Even at this time of night, it takes 43 minutes. So in the morning in New York City, it's going to take a longer time than that, as Alan stated in the interview. And then when he said $20, I'm not here to criticize him. He's the New Yorker. I am not. But I got to say, I would think that it would take more than $20 to travel anywhere if it was going to take an hour, whether it was in New York City or anywhere else. So what catches my attention, and let me add in the high school again, if I could, and I'll put it in line. Here's what I notice about this. If we are to believe that Leanne went to this car service and somehow got a ride up here to Alabama and Liberty Avenue, we have to realize that this is not on her way to school. She lived here. Strictly Car Service is almost in the opposite direction. So what is unclear is if anybody actually saw her walking in this direction toward the high school that morning or not. Now, of course, she could have faked it, could have gone down a couple blocks, then kind of backtracked and gone over on another street to the car service and got a ride up there. Certainly possible. But if this was planned, she would not have gotten caught doing that. It all depends on how you interpret this disappearance. Did she run away? Did something happen to her? I guess it all depends. It very well could be that she was walking to school and got abducted, and it really was Letitia who got this car service up there, and the two things are totally disconnected. Certainly possible. But that is something that we do have to realize, that if she was going to strictly car service, then it wasn't on her way to school. It wasn't like she's walking to school and then suddenly, you know what, I don't want to go to school. If she ended up at strictly car service, it was because as soon as she left the house, that was on her mind. I think that's the way we should interpret that. Once again, no proof she actually did that. So then you need to think about that. Now we'll go up and take a closer look at this area. And we have to remember, whoever was in that car, as far as Alan was able to investigate, and I think he did a great job at the time under very, very difficult circumstances, that what he discovered is that this car service, no matter who you think got the ride, that the person got dropped off at Alabama and Liberty Avenue. So here's Liberty Avenue right here. Here's Alabama Avenue going up like this. Now, what occurs to me is, why didn't this person, whether it was Letitia or Leanne, just say the address of Bruins Transportation? Why didn't that person just say, take me to Bruins Transportation, it's 300 Liberty Avenue? Because they are very close. 300 is this mark right there. Liberty Avenue is, they are very close to each other. I guess it just depends how you usually give directions. It very well may be that one of them just said Alabama and Liberty, but I think usually when, like for example, when we, in these days, 22 years later, when we give an address like to a Lyft or Uber driver or a regular taxi driver, we give them an address. Of course, these days they can type in their phone, their Garmin, or whatever they have in the car, and can type in that exact address. How it would have been done back then, I don't know. But it does seem interesting to me that the person requested Alabama and Liberty Avenue and didn't just request 300 Liberty Avenue, Bruins Transportation. Because whether it was Leanne or Letitia, they were surely going there. That is certainly not a coincidence that Barry works here and this car went to that location. It would make sense either way, whether it was Leanne or Letitia who was in that car. This is certainly not a coincidence that whoever was in that car ended up getting out at least near Bruins Transportation. The issue, though, to remind you from the interview, is that the person at Strictly Car Service, seeing a picture of Leanne, said, yeah, it was Leanne. But then later when questioned, Barry said, no, it wasn't. It was my wife. So then we have to go back, or my fiancé or girlfriend, excuse me, not his wife. They did end up getting married. However, off the top of my head, I don't remember if they are still married or not. That may be something I have to look into. So that brings us down to this area once again. What are the odds? And the issue, though, is it's been so long ago that I haven't been able to find where Barry lived at the time. But what are the odds that on the very same morning that Leanne disappears, that Letitia is, a couple blocks away? You New Yorkers would be able to determine if that's a block or 3 blocks. I don't know. What are the odds that Letitia, Barry's fiance, is just a couple blocks away? Letitia's here, or Leanne's here, Letitia's there. Eventually, Alan is investigating his daughter's disappearance, goes over there, and Leanne's picture is identified. But no, it's Letitia. What are the odds of that? Not to mention, what kind, they're regular taxis, maybe strictly car service. So once again, is this a taxi service? Maybe not being a New Yorker, I can't appreciate it as much as others. I've only been there once. So would not an adult just flag down a car? My impression is there's taxi cabs, especially in 1999, all over Brooklyn. Why wouldn't she just flag one down? Why would she actually go to the building where strictly car service is? Whereas I can see Leanne going to the building because it's so close, right? I mean, really, think about all the times you've taken a cab. If you're an adult in a big city, how many times are you actually right at the taxi place where all the taxis get worked on and where the drivers check in the morning? That is very, very rare. So what it would mean is it makes total sense for Leanne to do it, but does it make sense for Letitia to do it? My impression would be the only reason Letitia would do that is if she also lived in this area, which I don't know if that's true or not. So I'm still a little stumped on all of that. It certainly does seem like more than a coincidence, but that'll be up for you to decide. So let me pull this out again to show you. Leanne lives down here. Here's strictly car service right there. This is the high school where Leanne was going. And if the car service had gone from the high school, this is the way it would have gone. Alabama Avenue, Liberty Avenue, very close to 300 Liberty Avenue, where Bruins Transportation used to be. It is not in business anymore. But if we are to take the high school out of it, being that we know that Leanne did not go to high school anymore and that she did take the car service, then it's, I think you would say, a much shorter trip. So those are the locations for the disappearance of Leanne Hausberg. I hope you found this very helpful, and thank you for watching.